Hey, this is Drew.
Yeah, this is Drew. Is this Lorin?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
I'm great. You're in Portland right now?
Yeah, I just drove up the coast from Arcata.
Oh, nice, man. And, of course, we're looking forward to your big show here in Seattle tomorrow night at the WAMO Theater. But tonight you're kicking off your Va Va Voom tour in Portland. Is that correct?
Not kicking off, man. Wrapping up. We're wrapping up tomorrow for the spring. We've been on since March, and it's been a fucking fiasco. It's been like about 20,000 people a week, usually doing about 5 cities a week. We also did South America with Lollapalooza and cut through like the Midwest, the Northeast, the South, and then all the way up to Seattle tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is the spring tour wrap-up, and then we do just like a cannonball run of festivals all summer and 8 weeks in Europe, and then we do a Va Va Voom fall tour, which we are basically all booked up for through till New Year's. So my 2012 is kind of like a
as it should be. 8 weeks in Europe. You know, in an interview I've heard before, you weren't a particular big fan of going overseas necessarily. You were a big fan of the intimate shows.
I'm just a big fan of doing it home style here, where I've built such an insane kind of network over the years, and I don't mind going international. You know, we did South America and Australia this spring, and then we're doing like Paris, Germany, Reading and Leeds, and all these different spots over in Europe in the summer, and it's cool. Now, to me, it's like it's exotic, but I really prefer to play in places where I've been playing year after year after year and building up a fan base kind of from the ground up.
How are you? How's the response from people overseas? Have you been overseas since you've gotten this big?
I started in like 2002. I started doing like Europe, Japan, Australia, and it's cool. But just like anything, I prefer to get in a bus with my dream sound system and a crew that I know really well, and travel night after night after night after night to all these places where here we'll pull 2,000 to 3,000 people on a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night, in totally off the beaten path, sometimes middle of nowhere type of towns and cities, and it's just exciting to me as an artist.
You mentioned before that you being a big part of Burning Man in the past, when you've gone out and you've actually spawned scenes in places where they weren't doing dance music. Are you still getting that response from the burners?
It's not really has anything to do with the burners. It's more like I would meet people at Burning Man who would be doing, say, private parties, and this was before a DJ circuit existed, especially for non-house music or non-techno music. So in 2002, 2003, 2004, it was my way to get across the country and to get in front of ram-packed crowds by basically co-promoting events all over the place, and then linking them together with, like I was saying, going to play Arkansas on a Tuesday night in a pizza parlor in 2005 or whatever. And being kind of skeptical at first, and then showing up and seeing, oh my God, this place is sold out, and people hanging from the walls and going completely bananas, and losing my prejudice that it was all about the big cities. Not that the big cities don't go up too, of course they do. I've just found it to be, North America-wide, people are just all about experimental bass music, all tempos, all styles. And I don't think anyone but the press and the DJs gives a fucking rat's ass what the genre is. I think people just want to have fun and dance to good music and feel good music. And I get so many questions about dubstep, and so what's going to happen next? And it's like, well, don't worry about it. People are mob fiend about music, and I don't think the average person cares as much. I just think that they probably like some type of a rock song somewhere, and they probably like some type of a hip hop, but they probably like some kind of a house song and some kind of a dubstep song. And as long as a DJ or performer has good taste and spends a lot of creative time, blending together styles, I think it's basically game on right now.
You probably get asked about dubstep a lot, I assume.
Yeah.
Especially recently, there was that video that I think early January where someone took and an excerpt of an interview you did back in 2007 and kind of like broke down dubstep in 3 minutes. Now, you said that the things you said 5 years ago, obviously things have changed so much, so a lot of that was not true.
Yeah, I just felt like it wasn't relevant. And had someone asked me to comment on that today, I would have just neglected to comment because I think it's such a pointless argument, and there's so many people who define dubstep in different ways, and they argue about it, and I just don't care. In 2007, most people hadn't heard of it, so I was trying to explain what the specific mathematic definition of it is.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's such a widespread word that I don't even want to be involved in the discussions of it.
Do you think it's silly that we keep naming genres anymore?
No, I think it's inevitable. But what I think is silly, or just to me pointless, is trying to limit anything in a creative realm. To me, is unexciting. And so, I mean, I first heard dubstep in 2002, and there's been two carnations of it. You know, there was the first wave of dubstep that was like the early 2001, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And then it came back, and it sounds completely different, and that was about 2004, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
And the second wave is what we know today as dubstep, but it's changed up a lot. And it's one of hundreds of styles that I like, and it is kind of old news. And so watching everyone kind of get into these huge discussions about it, there's just so much more to talk about, and there's so much more that is happening that's far beyond, more developed, more new, more fresh, and more intense than, you know, just that one style, I guess.
You're known for lots of diverse music. On my radio show here in Seattle, I've played Basshead, I played Underwater, Cause of Frenzy, your remix of
they
Lights.
said you've been repping it for a long time. I really appreciate that.
Roustabout is still my jam. And I love that.
We actually closed the show with that. When I hopped down into the crowd to say what's up, they play Roustabout.
When I play it on the radio, I still get calls. People are like still discovering who Bassnectar is. Very diverse.
Cool.
You know, I was going through some of your interviews, and you mentioned when you were in college, you used to have a record shop for a quick moment, correct?
I mean, I had a record shop the first month of college, like freshman year. It probably lasted a couple months, and we might have sold $100 worth of merchandise. And really, we just threw parties in the back room and kind of all hung out there and just, you know, literally if a customer would walk in, we'd all be smoking bowls or whatever and just go up and like, talk to them and try to get them to buy a record. It was not a well-run business, but it was a fun way to, you know, spread and share the kind of music that I was into at the time.
Can you tell me what genre you were selling?
At that point, it was exclusively a genre called psychedelic trance or gullet trance.
Or psytrance. Okay. I always thought it was funny. It was like trance was like, it looks like it's one of your first loves, or at least something you're known for in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that was 1996, so that was a very kind of, again, like specific.
We all love trance in 96. Don't feel bad. Absolutely. So.
Well, people have to get, you know, different definitions of trance or techno or whatever.
Yeah, and then you get in that, and that's what we've dealt with for years. I mean, I always thought that maybe we should have some kind of commission of artists and producers and label owners, and like, you know, just like you have with the internet when someone goes, this is called a USB, and this is a FireWire. I mean...
Right, some kind of standard. If we did have a standard, I'd be down, but until we do, I honestly have no interest in the arm wrestle of the terms, because most people are wrong when they're talking about dubstep, but because they're all talking about it, they make it right, and so it just gets pointless. I used to call everything techno. When I was like 16 years old, I'd call acid jazz, raga jungle, techno, trance, house, acid house, all that shit, electro. I just called it all techno. And I didn't care if someone wanted to stop me and be like, no, this is the specific term. I was like, no, it's techno.
It's techno. Now,
I was wrong, but...
And you know, and that's one thing. It's the music. It draws more people in because when you realize that there's more layers, there's more to it. There's, you know, I think that overall it does definitely expand our scene. I mean, you've been playing electronic music here in the States for quite some time. I'm sure you've seen things change slightly over the past few years. You know, even Burning Man. Let's get back to Burning Man. You've been known as the king of Burning Man. You spent a lot of time there.
I've heard that for a long time, and it always made me feel kind of silly. Burning Man was a really important festival to me in 1997, 1998. It was like just irreplaceable. It's so rare, so special. And then in the early 2000s, it became kind of like the sickest place to DJ. Like, both fucking sickest sets were at Burning Man in 2002, 2003. And then it just started to get kind of old for me, because I was more interested in going out into the country. Like I said, I'd like to play Kansas City or Mississippi on a Tuesday more than I want to play Burning Man, because the energy is just as raw, but it's these people who've never felt it before. And so it was just more novel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, I missed the last 2 years. So I've been 12 times. And after 12 years, I don't think it's a bad thing for someone else who's enjoying it. But for me, I'm like, dude, I did it 12 times. I don't really ever want to go back again. Maybe I will.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, now you're like losing your roots. And I'm like, no, I'm not losing my roots.
Well, even Burning Man is kind of losing their roots. It's sold out now.
But it also isn't, because I was a total cheeseball when I first started going to raves. I was 18 or 19 or whatever.
You didn't want to go to your first Burning Man, correct?
Well, yeah, you just don't know. You don't know till you go, and then you go and you learn what's up, and you kind of amalgamate it and make it yours. And I don't want to judge people who are new to a scene. I don't like teasing people critically and calling them, newbies or something. I think everyone has the right to discover what they love, and I like facilitating that more than I like clowning on someone who's exploring. So I think it's great if people go, and I know that they do.
Yeah.
There's going to be people at Burning Man this year. It's their first year, and it's going to change their life.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't need me like some ass being like, oh, Burning Man isn't all it used to be.
Well, yeah, but in a sense, it's kind of changed where it's sold out, and a lot of people that were active participants in the festival can't make it now. And so do you think it's going to change, or do you think Burning Man's going to be different because of that?
I'm pretty sure it will change, but I think that the whole world has changed, and I think that people who were going in 2004 and 2005 and were like, this is amazing, would have and could have gone to people who were there in 1996, and those people in 1996 would be like, oh, it's completely changed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a piece of now. And it wasn't for the people who does it for. So, and frankly, I mean, the other kind of festivals which I love playing at Bonnaroo's, Coachella's, Wakarusa's, Sasquatch Music Festival, all this shit, it's nothing like Burning Man. Burning Man is always going to be more raw than that, because it's always going to be out in the desert and weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a to each their own type of thing. And for me, I'm really interested in doing things in-house. I'd much rather do a Bass Center event than play someone else's festival. And that's kind of been our method for the past couple of years, and it's working really well.
Yeah, you've mentioned in an interview that you have a tour set versus your festival set. Tomorrow night, your tour set is mostly like you say you like to tell a story when you're on tour, and your festival is all bangers. It's all anthems. Tomorrow night, what are we getting? Are we getting your storytelling tour set, or your anthem?
Absolutely. We're going deep. We're going 2 hours plus, and basically it's like I get to weave together what I call routines, which are like an actual play. So it's like anything from a 5 to a 15-minute routine where I can, in 10 minutes I could go through 30 records, and it might be, the intro of one, the outro of another, looped over the bass beat of another, playing that for 1 minute while I mix into an old version of a song, and then I mix into the new version of it while I'm mixing into a loop of another song, kind of like, whatever, just going crazy. And then that all happens in 10 minutes, and then it kind of morphs into this other routine. And sometimes I, want to do themes, so I'll do like beach music theme, or like movie score theme, or I want to like get super delicate and tender too, and like if not, I can just play like soft, delicate sounds, or sometimes it's absolute haywire. And we just had a pretty neat show for me last weekend in San Jose, California, where I was born, and my parents were there. I had about 30 relatives in the house, and we expected around 2,000 people, and we had 6,000 people show up. So it was just, rammed out. And I remember, telling my mom before the show, I had planned on going pretty fucking nutso, and I was a little nervous because I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want to maybe I should take out the real bonkers shit, just so that my mom isn't tripped out by her son, and she's like, "Don't you dare!" told you to hit it hella hard, and I did. It was fun.
You represent a lot of different genres. I'm a big fan of drum and bass, and you definitely touch drum and bass, dubstep. What other genre would you want to explore that you haven't touched yet?
There's nothing that I know of that I haven't touched. Not to say that there's nothing that exists that I haven't touched, but nothing that I know of. I mean, I've incorporated swing music and vaudeville music and folk music from, as long as there's been recorded music, and tribal rhythms and bachata and samba and, like I said, movie scores and death metal and hard rock and gangster rap and hip hop, and I love everything. And I just, it's not so much that I think as mechanically as now I'm going to do this. It's more like I heard Gogol Bordello, and I didn't say to myself, I want to make a gypsy punk rock remix. I just heard that song and I was like, okay, it's on. I'm gonna fuck with this. And honestly, for about 10 years, my favorite style to make mixes the 808 beats of hip hop, the bass lines of super psycho, what you'd now call dubstep, what I would have called breakbeats or drum and bass, but just, wild style bass lines.
Yeah.
And then all kinds of like vocals and melodies from different genres and, different sounds and 90s rave music, and putting it all together around that tempo. And that's the drum and bass tempo, but drum and bass as a genre is so limited, and it's so strict. And it's unfortunate because it's such a powerful genre. But I just like to sample. I think a lot of people have good ideas, but their ideas aren't perfect. And so I comb through the ideas and I just pull out the little bits that I like. Mm-hmm. And I basically do that with every record that I play. And that's what Ableton Live is so rad, because you're not stuck there. When I do it with CDs, you mix it in and then you're basically just there while the CD plays, waiting till you're ready to mix out. And with Ableton, you can just jump around or like edit a part out or loop a part or sample a little bit, and it just makes it really live. And it's like a live remix session for 2 hours straight.
You also mentioned that you don't like to make music alone.
I don't know if that's actually literally accurate, because of course I always make music alone, but I don't want to only do that. I'm really welcoming to collaborations, and I'm really excited when I get to feature someone else's ideas or bounce my ideas off of someone else. And if I was to only make collaborations from now until the day I die, I would be okay. But part of that is because I am such a control freak, mm-hmm. but I have gotten those urges out.
How does that work out?
Album.
How does that limit you?
I don't think of it in terms of limiting. I think in terms of, chronologically, I started off in bands, and I learned everything from my friends, and I taught them what I learned. And it was very, a lot of give and take and a lot of mutual inspiration. And then when I discovered electronic music, I related to it at first through events. I never thought I would be a DJ. I just wanted to make the events happen for other people. And then after, basically a couple months, I got into, at UCSC, I started taking an electronic music class, and I just started learning how to produce. The control freak in me at that time loved that all of a sudden there weren't any band members around, and then I could just do anything I wanted. And I think that's some of the romance of electronic music is it's producers who work all control freaks, and we don't want to have to get permission to do something. We just want to make the call. And so, I moved forward through a lot of my albums and a lot of my earlier music, just making that call and not being held back by anything. And then when I started, opening up more and more to collaboration in the last couple of years, I still retained that kind of control freakishness. I think I've just found people to collaborate with who allow me to still be that and still, share ideas. And it's really natural now. Like when I'm working with people, it's just, I don't know, man. Everyone has good ideas, and everyone has shitty ideas, including me. And so I'd love to work with people where we can, harvest the best of all of our ideas and put them into song.
You're also an advocate for a lot of social causes, such as free press, true media, net neutrality, ending corporate personhood, public knowledge, and you have a nonprofit organization called Conscious Alliance. What are your plans in 2012 as far as to push your message?
Honestly, I am most inspired by non-political social activism, which means anything as simple as volunteering at a school or an old folks home, or making friends with someone who you know needs a friend, doing something, as cheesy as it sounds, doing something nice for your neighbor, whatever that is, like really basic, returning to a humanistic form of connection that is either made harder by today's, overly stimulated information superhighway society. But just in general, I'm interested in community. I'm interested in inspiring people. And I went to school to become a guidance counselor and a teacher. I never really anticipated doing music full-time like this. And I'm really interested, kind of more than in music, I'm interested in community. And specifically, community, that can mean events and stuff. And obviously I'm interested in that. But I'm really interested in advice. And I would call it guidance counseling or therapy or mental health, but a lot of people have an aversion to that. A lot of people kind of sneer at the notion that they would need mental health. And I think that it should be as commonplace as going to the gym. People should go to the gym 2, 3, 4 times a week, and they should go be their mental health counselor. And I don't mean like getting prescription drugs or something. I mean like someone who's like a Jedi who helps you wade through all the overwhelming feelings and thoughts of being alive. And I'm looking at a way of synthesizing that digitally through something that's kind of similar to a Wikipedia, but would be free, online, open source, and moderated by a national network of therapists and counselors who can basically just give free advice to anyone for any reason. So it could be something serious like a 13, 14-year-old girl in the Bible Belt whose dad is a minister, and she gets pregnant and she doesn't know who to go to for advice, and anyone in her town would either, judge her, or it would be like all faith-based type of, social organizations that she could reach out to, and no one to really get like good, solid advice from. Or it could be as simple as just somebody is graduating high school and doesn't have a strong relationship with their parents and needs some advice on what colleges to apply to, or someone's going through a tough breakup, or even someone who's, just wants help with their music career and doesn't know how to get to the next step.
Everyone needs a therapist if you're a DJ, so
everyone needs, good advice.
Absolutely. And it's expensive. Mental health help is expensive, and a lot of people don't have access to that. So it'd be nice to be able to get that kind of advice for free.
Absolutely.
That's great. Lorin, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Lorin of Bassnectar. We're looking forward to your performance tomorrow night.
Thank you so much. This was great. I'll see you out tomorrow night.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good one. Kill it in Portland tonight.
All right. Thanks so much, dude.